following is a graphic depiction of a violent prehistoric battle. Viewer discretion is advised. Pound for pound, they were the fiercest dinosaurs ever to walk the Earth. Scientists call them Deinonychus. You know them as raptors. But when this cunning carnivore takes on a towering dinosaur 10 times its size, it's a gang kill. They're the Earth's first fighters, the ultimate predators. New discoveries in forensic science bring to life the prehistoric art of war. This is Jurassic Fight Club. Go back more than 100 million years. Europe, Asia, Africa, and North America fractured into large drifting islands. It's the early Cretaceous period. The terrain rumbles with constant volcanic activity, hurling millions of tons of carbon dioxide into the air and raising global temperatures. The eruptions also create ridges, rising hundreds of feet off the ocean floor. 40% of the continents are flooded. Water settles into a western interior seaway, flowing from the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. North America is split in two. At the end of the Jurassic period, large dinosaurs such as Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus vanish from the Earth. In their place, new species, better able to adapt to the dramatic environmental changes, increasing humidity and temperatures soaring in excess of 100 degrees. In what is today the state of Montana, herds of giant herbivores migrate across treacherous rocky terrain, surrounded by dense forests. Perfect prey for coordinated killers. Fast forward 115 million years. The location, near the town of Bridger in south-central Montana. Paleontologist John Ostrom is on his last day of the summer, searching for fossils. He has no idea that he is about to make one of the most significant discoveries of dinosaur carnage. He suddenly spots several shiny black bones protruding from the ground. Taking advantage of what little light remains, he and an assistant begin to remove as many bones as they can. Then, they find one that's unusual. Among these fossils was a deeply curved, sickle-shaped claw. The bones were from a predator. Ostrom continues to unearth more bones. With each one, he realizes he's not just looking at any predator. It was a Deinonychus, a raptor.
Deinonychus belongs to a group of dinosaurs we nicknamed the raptors. The scientific name is dromaeosaurs. Raptors have a couple of different features that make them different from other predators. Number one, it was the design of their tail. Their tail is held stiff by a series of interconnecting bony rods that sort of locked the vertebra in place. This stiff tail acted like a balancing point. The dinosaur was able to change directions quickly. He could jump, he could leap in the air. He was an incredible animal. But the most distinguishing feature of a raptor was the killing claw on its foot. It's an oversized claw, the second digit of each foot, that was held upright when the raptor was walking. When he spotted his prey and he leaped on top of it, that claw sort of acted like a mousetrap. It would swing forward and this dinosaur could slice you open while he's hanging on to it.
I think if we tried to look at Deinonychus in terms of living animals, we couldn't really come up with a match. However, if we combined the characteristics of the Tasmanian devil and the wolverine and a ferocious eagle, I think we might have a general glimpse of what it must have been like.
Then, Ostrom's crew made another remarkable discovery. Lying next to the raptor, there was a second skeleton. Two raptors, side by side. But this raptor's bones had been crushed. Evidence of major trauma. They continued to dig. Then, just a few feet away, another discovery. A third carcass. On this one, the bones were also crushed. Paleontologists realized they were looking at a fight. One where at least 3 raptors were involved. All 3 had been pulverized.
Whenever you find a large number of the same species of dinosaurs lying together, mixed up, it's a pretty good indication that they died at the same time. This is common in plant-eating dinosaurs, but very rarely do we find predators. Finding a group of Deinonychus is a very good indication of pack hunting.
Then, buried only a few yards away, its skeleton sprawled in a death pose, a 4th raptor. The realization was stunning. This was a battlefield, with multiple raptors involved. It was a prehistoric gang killing.
Paleontologists had always wondered if raptors hunted in packs. Well, Dr. Ostrom's discovery in Montana of these 4 Deinonychus answered that question. These raptors lived and died as a group.
The raptors were relatively small predatory dinosaurs, not much larger than a man. They stood 5 feet tall, were 8 feet long, and weighed close to 150 pounds. But what they lacked in size, they more than made up for in weapons. Dr. Ostrom was quick to identify 3 deadly weapons that were used in the battle. The first were its teeth.
These teeth curve backwards. Teeth that curve backwards are designed to grab and hold on to something that's struggling to get away. Not only are their teeth curved backwards, they're serrated on both edges. They've got a mouthful of steak knives.
What it would do is it would get a hold of something, and then it would jerk its head backwards, and that's when the curvature of the teeth would cause all of these little teeth to act like serrated hooks, and they would just tear out a big chunk of meat.
Although its teeth were formidable weapons, the claws on their hands were just as important in the fight.
They really look a lot like cat talons. They're pretty incredible, and I suspect they were used in much the same way. These were very, very sharp instruments of great pain.
But one weapon set this dinosaur apart from all other meat eaters: the killing claw.
With this claw on the foot, this was clearly a killing claw, but what was it doing? Going after the ankles of other dinosaurs? No. In order for it to have been useful, it had to be leaping around to slash and tear at its victims.
Well, the thing that really typifies dromaeosaurs in general, the group to which Deinonychus belongs, is that they have this large raptorial claw on their foot. And even the claw today, the bony part of the claw is about 4 inches long or so, but in life it would have been covered with a sheath like a fingernail that would have made the claw twice as large. So it would have been a pretty spectacular weapon.
CAT scan research of their brain cavities, conducted by Larry Whitmer of Ohio University, concluded that members of the raptor family had excellent vision.
What I was able to do was get my hands on a variety of fossil skull bones of Deinonychus and CAT scanned a variety of them to get a glimpse inside the head of Deinonychus. When we look inside the brain cavity of Deinonychus, what we see is an expansion of the visual centers. Centers that in more primitive dinosaurs we didn't really see enlarged. That suggests to us that vision was a very important sensory modality in Deinonychus and Utahraptor and these other raptors. It was clearly a major part of their hunting strategy.
In fact, their vision was so strong, experts had to consider, did they have night vision?
They had a very large optic lobe of the brain, so there's no reason to think that they could not have hunted at night. But it doesn't mean that they were restricted to that.
Having that incredible eyesight would not just be helpful at night, it would be an awesome asset anytime there's limited light. During volcanic activity or storms, they would still have the ability to see see when other creatures wouldn't have.
Like a modern cat, raptors relied on their large eyes to hunt at night. They were perfectly designed as night hunters. CAT scan evidence would also reveal another clue. The raptors at this battlefield were incredibly agile.
We have a sense that this animal could really move around with a fair amount of dexterity. So it's interesting for me then, with the CAT scan, to have a look inside the skull at what the inner ear looks like, because that speaks to the center of balance for this animal. And the question is, did it have a sense of balance that matches what we see from other parts of the skeleton? And the answer is very much so. They certainly have the kind of inner ear structure that fully supports the idea that these were very active, agile animals.
Then, focusing on the inner ear canals, Whitmer's team discovered something startling. These raptors could pick up low-frequency sound.
One of the exciting things when we did the CAT scanning of Deinonychus is we found very large air spaces surrounding the brain region of the back ends of these skulls. And they're very curious to us. Why did they have these very large spaces within their skull? They were airheads in a very literal sense. It turns out that having a very large middle ear space, the space just inside the eardrum, has an impact on the kinds of sounds that you're potentially sensitive to. It potentially opens up greater sensitivity to low-frequency sounds. So it's conceivable that Deinonychus, and actually many of these predatory dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus and others that have these large sinuses associated with their ear, were actually using low-frequency sounds potentially to track the movements or activities of animals that were really quite far away, potentially animals that were out of their line of sight or beyond their senses of smell. So the sense of hearing and their sensitivity to low-frequency sound, which is something we never could have discovered without CAT scanning, provides us with a unique glimpse into the biology or the potential predatory behavior of some of these kinds of dinosaurs.
Why would a small dinosaur like a raptor need the ability to hear low-frequency sound? The discovery of yet another dinosaur at the scene would complete the puzzle and paint a picture of a prehistoric gang kill. On a barren hillside in the Badlands of Montana, a group of paleontologists uncover a 115-million-year-old battle